Hey friends, it's Jasmine, and I hope that you all are doing well. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I am a witchy content creator here on YouTube, but you can also find me on several other social media platforms as well. So all of my links will be down below if you want to check me out elsewhere. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. Your support of me and of my channel means a lot, so I really appreciate it. Make sure that you like this video if you like it and subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell if you want to get notified every time I post something. And make sure that you do hit the bell, because I don't know who else has experienced this, but I have, where I know that I'm subscribed to a channel, but yet it's been coming up where I've been unsubscribed by the platform. So maybe check on your favorite content creators and make sure that you're still subscribed. And if you really like their content, if you hit that bell, it'll notify you every time that they are live. So in today's video, I really wanted to talk about the horned moon. Also, just so you know, if you catch my eyes kind of like looking down, I do have my laptop here where I've just made not quite a script, because none of my videos are really scripted, but I do have some bulletin points that I want to make sure that I touch on. I am very neurodivergent, and I have a habit of kind of going off on tangents and then forgetting things that I wanted to say in the video. So I find it really helpful for me to kind of have a list of like, go off on your tangent, girl, but make sure that you touch on X, Y, Z. And so that's what I have right here in front of me. So if my eyes are kind of going like crazy, that's why. Also, I am filming this video from my witchy room at the house. I'm actually on the kind of couch, sofa, daybed futon. I know that this is kind of like a different angle, so like let me know what you think of this angle. Sometimes I film from the shop. Sometimes I film from the angle of my bookshelf, and I'm kind of trying out this angle. I normally use this spot when I go live, so let me know what you think. So today is Easter Sunday, 2023, when I am filming this video. Now, for me, Easter doesn't really play a huge theme in my life. Culturally growing up, I mean, we used to gather Easter eggs, right? And get Easter baskets, but that was about it. But I know that this day can be sometimes kind of hard for those of us that are in the craft. And especially those of us who were members of a church and have left the church and come into the craft. And so I just kind of want to pay special acknowledgement to those witches and that experience on this day. Just know that while I'm filming this video, since it is this day, like, I want you to know that, like, if you are struggling with Abrahamic trauma or family drama because you've decided to embark on a spiral path within the craft, that my heart is with you. This video is about the horned moon. So what really is the horned moon? I've been getting some questions about this because I have been including some horned moon graphics in a lot of my media art and on my channel. And it's actually a really, really big part of not only just my personal craft, but also the Neo tradition, the Solar Court Coven, which is the coven that I run here in Indianapolis, Indiana. We do have a website that is also linked down below. So if you are interested in getting some more specific details about the SCC, the Solar Court Coven, feel free to do so. So the horned moon is very, very important to us. It is our coven's sort of emblem, if you will. It represents us as Solar Court witches. And it represents a lot of our values and our beliefs. And there's a lot of very symbolic, personal imagery that is found within the horned moon that I really want to share with you all. The horned moon is basically a crescent moon that is pointing upright. making it a horned moon. You can also find some lore surrounding wet and dry moons as well, which I'll talk about that in this video also. But we have kind of troped this particular lunar arcane pictogram as a horned moon. And that would be, once again, when the points of the crescent are pointed upwards. So what is some symbolism of the horned moon? What does it mean to me? And what does it mean to our coven? What sort of significant meaning do we find within the horned moon? So a horned moon is also known as a wet moon. This is also sometimes called a Cheshire moon. The reason for that Cheshire name is because it's kind of similar to the Cheshire cat from Alice in Wonderland, that Cheshire cat smile. So a wet moon is a moon that is sort of pointed upwards. It almost is symbolic of a sacred chalice holding water. And then a dry moon would be where the moon's horns are downturned, almost symbolic of the chalice being poured out. Now, this is an actual phenomenon that you can observe in the northern and southern hemisphere, dependent on the spring and fall, evening and morning aspects of your lunar calendar. You can trace this yourself based on your own region and find out when the moon is wet and when the moon is dry in your region. Now, we definitely pour, more symbolism, no pun intended, into that wet and dry aspect of our horned moon. We kind of view the chalice as symbolic of our vessels as witches. And that which is in the chalice is kind of like the magic that we hold and that we carry. And so that horned moon is sort of symbolic of us holding the magic, and that dry moon, when the horn moon is pointed downwards, it's kind of symbolic of us pouring that magic out of ourselves. So kind of the same thing, right? With our waxing and waning lunar cycles within pretty mainstream witchcraft. Waxing, it's building, it's filling. Wet, same thing. We're getting our cups fulfilled. Dry or waning, where the moon points downwards, we are pouring out and we are releasing. Now, you will find in some of my graphics the horned moon. Typically, this is going to be in the shade of red. So black and red and white are definitely colors that our coven has personally adopted, that has been heavily inspired by sort of tradcraft colors and the Red Thread Academy. The Red Thread Academy is an online witchcraft academy that I would highly, highly recommend. I'm currently in my first year of it now, so I love it. And I think that Lorelai is amazing. Taya Kennedy is a big reason of why I kind of started it. I was watching her videos and she was talking about the Red Thread Academy, and that kind of piqued my interest because I'm a little bit of a slut for like academia. And I just was kind of interested. So I had messaged Lorelai and talked with her about some of what I was feeling and thinking regarding the Red Thread Academy. And she was like, yeah, like if you want to join, absolutely, please do. And in that Red Thread Academy, I have been learning a lot about the various colors of tradcraft, the black, the white, the red, and how meaningful those colors are. And it's very validating because in a way we've been kind of working with those colors in our neo tradition well before I ever even knew Lorelai or the Red Thread Academy or even Taya here on YouTube, who, I love her. We're good Judies. We're good Judies. Taya, girl, if you're watching this, love you. We will often kind of cast the horn moon in sort of a red hue because to us it's symbolic of the blood of the mighty dead, of the beloved dead, of our witch blood and our witch fire that pours through our veins. It is symbolic of magic incarnate into the flesh, and it connects us to our red soul, which is a big part of our tradition. Another feature of the horned moon is the negative space that is sort of behind the horned moon. So the horned moon, you know, is pointed upwards like this. And if it's a dry horned moon, then it would be pointed down. But the horned moon is pointed upwards. So there is this space sort of in the negative. Because obviously the moon is spherical. However, only the horns here are illuminated. So that negative space represents liminality. It represents the dark mother, the dark goddess, the weaver of fate, and the dark goddess archetype, which also for the Solar Court Coven is a really big, meaningful sort of value that we all consider ourselves of the dark mother current. We work with the dark goddess by her many names in almost all of our sacred and high holy rituals. And so she is kind of the undercurrent to that horned moon. She is what exists in the liminal, in the negative space. She is behind those horns. Of course, per having some sort of tradcraft, devilish sort of influence, those horns also kind of represent the horns of our witch's devil, which during the light half of the year, the horns of our witch's devil are antlered. And during the dark half of the year, our witch's devil horns are horned. So it's kind of symbolic of our geographic and agricultural sort of meaning, I guess, per those times of year. And that's sort of what the red image sort of represents. When we illuminate the horned moon in red, we're illuminating the witch's devil, which we interact with the witch's devil as our witch's familiar. That's our personal relationship with the witch's devil. I've made a lot of videos about the witch's devil and about how my personal experience has been. So if you're interested in that, you can definitely check out those videos here on my channel as well. Not all witches work with the witch's devil, but the witches of the SCC, we do. And for us, like I said, the witch's devil is kind of like our familiar, is our sort of engagement, and it connects us to the red soul, it connects us to the witch blood, it connects us to our magical selves. And behind that witch's devil, once again in that liminal space, is our dark mother, is the dark half of that sphere. The next thing that I want to talk about when we're discussing the horned moon is what we title and call kind of the witch's mark. Now, for those of you who are SCC initiates, or those of you who have come to some of our SCC rituals, you might already kind of be familiar with the witch's mark, and you may have been marked several times already by now if you have come to some of our rituals. So the witch's mark sort of historically is kind of mentioned in witch trial documents about identifying witches by their witch's mark. This could be a birth defect, this could be a mole, this could be an extra nipple, this could be sort of a variant of things. But there's also this idea of the witch's mark of the devil giving you a mark, sort of marking your passage of initiation, or claiming your flesh, your soul as devilish and marked by the devil. And so in some of our rituals, this is something that we weave a lot, especially during our Esbat rituals. Now, there is some information that obviously is fourth power that I can't give specific details about, since this is going to be a video that is going to be public on YouTube. And our coven is a neo-tradition, meaning that our tradition is a living tradition founded in 2017 that evolves and changes over time. So there are some mysteries that, even if I wanted to break the fourth power, it can never really be broken because it evolves over time. So the meanings that we find in our coven with the witch's mark sort of aspect of our ritual, or the sort of ecstasy of ritual, that has to be experienced. That cannot just be discussed. And there aren't words for those sorts of mysteries. You have to engage yourself in them in order to really understand them. No one can teach you those. But I can tell you that one way that we incorporate the witch's mark in our rituals is through anointing. So something that I have personally seen in more Wiccan spaces is that the high priestess typically, if they're more traditionally Wiccan, will be wearing a horned moon sort of like circlet on their forehead, right? Now, a lot of the other priestesses or witches of their coven will not be wearing this. And so it's kind of a high honor exclusively for that high priestess and a mark of her training and education. And it's a very sacred thing for them. And I don't want to give the impression that our subversion of this is to be disrespectful towards them, because that's not the intention. However, the reason why we anoint not only the high priestess, but regardless of what your degree is within the coven, whether you're a first degree, second degree, third degree, if we are incorporating the witch's mark into our Sabbat rite, you will get that mark as well. And even if you are not initiated and you are simply just a guest, you will get the mark as well. Obviously, this is also like your personal choice. If you do not want to be marked, you in no way are expected to take the witch's mark. It's really up to you and your personal comfort levels. So when we incorporate the witch's mark into our Sabbats, part of the ritual typically will involve lots of chanting and sort of trance work, and people come up one by one to the altar to sign our coven's black book and to receive their witch's mark, which our witch's mark is done typically in red, but we have also done other colors as well. Sometimes we have done black and blue and purple. It really depends on the time of year and the particular ritual that we are doing, but the traditional color, and by tradition, I'm speaking from our neo-tradition, is red. So if you have seen pictures of some of our rituals kind of floating around online, then you will have seen this mark. It is done on the forehead here, because this area here is sort of this very sensitive aspect of the spirit codex within the human body. And marking this forehead here also is kind of like marking the psyche or the emotional realm of the practitioner, imprinting that sort of magic into the witch. And this is something that a lot of our initiated members will typically adorn already during rites. And it's something that we also put onto each other during some of our rituals where we are incorporating the witch's mark. And we also give this witch's mark to people who are completely non-initiated. It's not required to be an initiate to receive this mark upon your forehead. To us, this mark is a mark of honor. It's a mark of your commitment to yourself and to your own magic. And for us, in our neo-tradition, we definitely have left-hand path values. So apotheosis, right? The art and the act of uplifting one's ego and one's soul and one's self to that of divinity. We do not worship divinity. We do not beg and pray to divinity. We work directly equally in unison to divinity, because we believe that as above, so below, as the gods, so are we. We are living devas of the divine, which I think I'm going to probably make a video about that deva aspect as well. But the horned moon kind of plays into that. By receiving the horned moon within ritual, I'm not just saying like hanging out, having a kiki, draw a horned moon on your forehead, it's the same thing. No, because an element of being marked can only really be conjured properly within ritual. And so when you are marked and you receive that horned moon with all of its symbolism in a ritualistic manner, and it's marked on your forehead here, it's such an empowering experience. And to adorn that and to wear that and to leave the ritual at the ritual site, but you go home, or you go out to the bar, or you go out to a restaurant, or you go about your day, you go to a baby shower, whatever, and you have this big mark on your forehead. It's kind of like a giant sign that draws attention. And not everyone is interested in the attention that having the horned moon can bring. And so some people will absolutely go home and remove the mark prior to engaging in any other activities if they are not public with their craft. But it is definitely encouraged to go out there and live your life with this giant mark here, this horned moon on your forehead. It's marking you of your practice and of your faith and of your power and of your beliefs. And it's not necessarily for other people to understand, though people will ask questions, and it will kind of push you to be in a position to answer questions. Also very much like a mark of pride in yourself and pride in the craft. And the reason why we mark all of our witches, initiated or non-initiated, first, second, or third degree with that horned moon, is because we believe that the divine is in everyone and we want to recognize that divine. Your connection to the divine, your connection to our great goddess, is not gatekept by someone who is a third degree initiate. Now, there's definitely aspects of initiation and being a degreed witch that can lend particular insights that if you are not of those degrees, or if you are not initiated, some of those mysteries still might be hard to interpret, but not impossible. And we want to inspire that witch flame, that black flame that exists within our soul and within our inner world, within all of our witches. And that's why that witch's mark and taking it during some of our rituals where we choose to incorporate it can be very meaningful and can be very empowering. And there's some other aspects that happen ritualistically with taking the witch's mark that I can't really talk about here on camera. It's something that you would have to experience during the ritual, because once again, some of the inner mysteries of the craft can't be put into words. Even if I tried, like, you have to be there, you have to experience it. They can't be put into words. So speaking of inner mysteries, how did our coven personally come to understand this to be a symbol for our neo-tradition? Well, first and foremost, we definitely work very democratically, so it was voted upon by the entire coven, and it was selected. And this particular symbol was given to us from a spirit in the other world. Now, I am working on a very special project right now that unfortunately I can't really discuss publicly. I have talked about bits and pieces with some of you online about what I'm working on, and so you can probably expect that the story of the horned moon will be in that sort of project. So if you are interested in traveling through the other worlds and pacting with spirits and receiving guidance and messages, and ripping your spirit from your body and traveling realms and shape shifting, you might want to stay tuned, especially maybe around the month of June, for something that I might be dropping, which we will see what comes. But the story of the Horned Moon, it's very personal to me, and it's something that I've been a little bit nervous of sharing publicly, but I'm in this space right now where I think the craft in general really needs more people sharing their own personal, unverified gnosis. I think that the historical work is great. The academic work is great. And I love some of my very prominent and influential trad crafters that are doing that good work. I admire it very much so. That's not what I can really produce. But what I can produce is my own personal experiences. And yeah, anyway, I'm gonna shut up before I ramble on too much. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. What are some personal symbols of power for you? And if you're part of any magical order or coven, how did you come to understand the power of the symbol of your group? Do you think that having a symbol for a group or a practice is important? I would love to hear all about that down in the comments below. Remember that all of my links are in that description bar down there, okay, down there. So if you want to message me, one of the best places to do so would be on my Instagram. My TikTok is where I kind of like shit post and thirst trap. So just FYI. Yeah, and I guess that's gonna be the end of this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope that you all are doing well, for real, sincerely. I mean that. I hope that you are blessed and know that you are protected and highly favored. Until next time, blessed be, and I will see you in hell.